Today I'm interviewing Janet Morden, a private tutor teacher here in the Canby, Oregon area. Janet, tell us a little bit about your life, growing up and stuff, and how that kind of stuff shapes your perspective on things.
Well, I was born and raised in in Spokane, Washington. Um, I was raised by a single mother, and her mother, my grandmother, um, went through K through 12 um, education, and then went to Eastern Washington University to receive my Bachelor's of Arts degree in Applied Psychology and Special Education. And then later received my master's from Grand Canyon University um, in education, special education. So I've been fortunate to have received a good education. I also studied for a doctorate degree in special ed, but have not received that. So in that, living a pretty um, rounded life. My perspective has always been pretty open to whatever um, life has challenged me with, and as an educator, I've worked also in the social service field, so primarily with people with disabilities. The work I do now is K through 12. Um, Mostly working with students who have challenges in reading and writing and math, and have done some work with adults who have studied for their GED.
All right, we got to know a little bit more about Janet today. So we're going to dive right into the questions. We're talking about data centers today. So before today, have you ever heard of a data center? And if so, what do you think it was and what do you think it does?
Well, prior to today or recent events, I've heard of data centers, but wasn't really familiar with what they were. Um, of course, they're data centers, so I knew that they must deal with data in some respect, but didn't know what to extent. Um, and I have recently heard a lot about people not wanting them, and that there are a lot of them out there. So I have looked more into it just so for my information, so that I would become more familiar as to why they become such hot spots, and why people are at this point seeming so opposed to them.
How important do you think data centers are to your daily life and why?
Well, I'm not really sure they're important to my daily life. I know because I have computers, and I have a business that I do a lot of work on my computer, and of course my phone that I'm constantly on, looking into information and things like that. I think they become more readily important in that they do supply everything I need in order to use that equipment. If it weren't for those centers, the equipment probably wouldn't work, because that's, from what I understand, is the central processing of all data that goes out through the cloud, or and provides all our information that we need when we use our phones, our computers, and everything else.
Yeah, it's everything we do from our debit cards. All our information is stored in these centers. Everything we do online, movies, it's all pulling from somewhere, and that's where it's coming from. Are these centers? What concerns, if any, would you have if a large data center was built near you here in your community, like say out here in Canby?
Well, Canby is a small community. It's growing, of course, because a lot of businesses are coming in. And I guess in some respects, it wouldn't surprise me if the state of Oregon built a data center here because there's a lot of space to do that, lots of building spaces, and we do have a large growing business community here in Canby. My concerns would be because we are such a small community with the usage of electricity and water that these centers use, the effects that it may have on our community because we are small. And from what I'm reading and learning as I do more research on data centers, they use extraordinary amounts of power, electricity, and water to keep them cool. So I think I would just be concerned on how it might affect this small community and if it might cause more power outages and water shortages that we don't need here.
What benefits do you think a data center could bring to the local community here?
The primary benefit would probably be employment. Um, as long as the data centers are functioning. I've also read places where um, small communities lose large businesses. And so, again, that would be a concern because if it was a good employer, then we would look at high unemployment rates. So um, it's just kind of one of those um, things that you can see it being a good source of employment opportunities. But then again, you have to, one would question if it would be a permanent employment source.
So after learning a little bit about these data centers today, has your opinion changed on them? If so, how?
I don't know if it's changed. Um, I see the good and the bad, um, and the need for them, obviously, because computers are not going to go away, and neither are cell phones. Neither is the need for them because of that data being transmitted and um, put out. I turn my phone on. I use it to bank with. I use it to um, do probably 90% of my business. So, um, I communicate through my phone to do business. So, and my computer. So I see it's important. I just I'm wondering if there isn't some better way to um, generate those needs that they have to um, successfully operate without continually pulling from the sources that we depend on to live.
About environmental resources and stuff.
Right.
Because, like, for instance, example, what they're doing in China is they're building these and putting them underwater in the ocean. Now, environmentalists have concerns about it's going to heat up the ocean, which I find is completely, as an interviewer, completely just ridiculously crazy. That would they heat up the ocean? That's
Well, then you have these environmentalists that I can see where they're coming from.
overall to summarize. It'd be a great employment opportunity for the community.
Mm-hmm.
The concerns are the environmental impacts of water, power usage, price spikes on electricity in the area. But the reality is that we've all agreed in every interview I've done so far with anybody, this is part of our lives now. This is the future, and the future AI and data centers and technology is rapidly, um, the world is rapidly changing, and this is part of it. This is the future, and it's here and now. So,
Well, you find it in the schools, and it's growing. Its usage is growing in the schools. Since I don't work in the schools, I don't know exactly the impact it will eventually have. I can, I can imagine it will be pretty big. But then again, I think we have to be careful again with AI and the fact that it is artificial intelligence. It's not intelligence that is um, actually generated through our resources, and I hopefully the artificial aspect of intelligence won't. dominate. Um, and there again, that might be another concern in the function of these centers.
Absolutely. All right, Janet. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate the chance to talk to you about data centers here in Oregon.